A few weeks back, I made a video where I summarized a bunch of the arguments that Tim Keller made in his book, The Reason for God. And then I recently I took down that video because as I read more of the book, I was unable to, in good conscience, keep that video up in not only how I described each argument, like I think I did that a disservice, and also just the arguments themselves seemed a little faulty. So in this video, I'm just going to be talking about why I did not like Tim Keller's The Reason for God. This is no hate. This is not like, doesn't need a response. It's just sort of like pretend we're in a book club about theology, and you're just like, oh, we've all read this book. Did we like it? And I'm like, no, I didn't like this one. If you don't know me yet, my name is Oliver Johnson, and I am a future Presbyterian minister on a mission to bring young, ambitious people together to uncenter their ambition around Christ. So I've about two reasons, mostly, that I didn't like the book that much. First is that he uses a lot of circular arguments, or like arguments that don't fully explain the thing that he's arguing, and they just kind of like give it's like in his chapter on suffering. Like he didn't really explain that much about suffering. It was just like sort of these sort of ideas around that like sort of relate to suffering, like, oh, Jesus suffered, so therefore suffering is okay, or like the Joseph story, like people suffering that can lead them into better places. There was more explanation that was needed than what he gave. There's also a part where he talks about the resurrection, where it's like it's very important that people saw Jesus and that the body left the tomb, because if it was only like sightings of Jesus, but the body was still there, then like people in those days, they just kind of would see dead people all the time, or like they could imagine dead people, like see spirits and stuff. So like that wasn't reliable. And if no one saw him, but the tomb was empty, then they would have just attributed it to like grave robbers. Whereas when people see him and the grave's empty, the tomb's empty, then it has to be the resurrection, as opposed to they're just happening to be like grave robbers and sightings of a dead guy by the masses. So I just think that the arguments were not explained the best. They weren't like fully like just broken down to like, is there going to be someone who's still confused reading this? Yes, I was still confused reading it, and I'm a Christian, like I'm a believer in this stuff, and he just explained it like very poorly, and like if I didn't have a previous wealth of knowledge in this, like these explanations would not make sense. And even with that wealth of knowledge, who am I kidding? But like it still was not the most like easy to consume, easy to understand. And the second reason that I didn't like reading the book, and this is a much more just like reading experience reason than like theological, is that he just quotes a lot of other people instead of like making up his own arguments. Like he still has his own arguments, but he'll just like have two straight paragraphs of text of like some random like cultural thing that, like, he's an old guy, so it's not culture I know. It's probably not culture many of the people know. Like I understood a few references, like he talked about Les Mis, and I got that one. But it's like he tries to use other people's words to like push his point along, and it doesn't always make the most sense. And there's just kind of a lot of like blobs of text that he did not write, which he could be like written a lot more efficiently if you were to paraphrase them, or like write them in a simpler way, like a good author. Like that's I'm in like an AP English class right now, and like one of the things we talk about is like, hey, if you can paraphrase, and like use as little direct quotation as possible, because that's super tedious to read, and no one wants to like just jump in and out. If you can explain it in a lot less words, a lot more concisely, and a lot more enjoyably to read. So those are my main two reasons I didn't like that book. If you love the book, you could tell me why in the comments, and like we could have a little discussion. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I'm on a mission to more subscribers. Thank you.